Hello everyone, this is Kelsey from Philly Kelsey & Co. We are licensed expediters in the city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, and we are here to deliver some important licensing and inspection updates for 2021. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I am a licensed expediter. I am not engaged to practice law, architecture. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a real estate agent or broker. And I'm simply here to deliver the news and my own experiences as it relates to permitting and licensing. And of course, green demolition regulations, sustainability, and the path to making our community a greener place to live. Okay. First up, we have some changes in Eclipse procedure. If your project impacts a right-of-way, which means the sidewalk, the alleyway, anywhere that is not directly your property or a neighbor's property that they own, you have to start your permit application for the right-of-way with the Department of Streets before you submit your initial application through Eclipse. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but they have a completely separate portal, which is a little bit clunky and not very user-friendly. I think what they're trying to do is get all of the city departments to use Eclipse, because honestly, it really is a good resource because it's convenient. You have to log in to the Streets Department portal. It's a little bit weird, but you go onto their online and you request a login. So what this means is it goes back to Streets. Someone then generates a profile for you. So then you get the profile link sent to you, which can take, 1 to 2 days, which will then allow you to log into the portal. Now, it's weird how you log in. It's not like you have a username and a password. It's one-time code generation. So they'll send you automatically when you go to request it after you get your profile. You'll get a link that'll allow you to log in directly, and it's only active for a certain amount of time. So you would have to do this procedure every time you log in. So the next update is a big one. Contracts are now required for electrical permit fee calculations. What the city actually means is they're tired of electricians pulling easy permits by the method of fishing only. If you're an electrician, I'm sure you know what I mean. You are now required to upload your contract. So the permit fee for electrical work shall be $25 for each $1,000 or fraction thereof of estimated electrical construction costs, a minimum fee of $51 and a maximum fee of $15,525. So when you're going for an electrical permit, you have to provide the executed contract. This is the scope of work, the contract that the property owner is signing for you to do the work. You're probably going to have to go through a standard electrical application. So before you open up that easy permit, ask yourself, do you need access to any interior walls that you're not going to just be sticking a wire through and feeding it through the piping or feeding it through the wall? You're going to save yourself a lot of time because these examiners are now reviewing these contracts. And if they find anything in there that disqualifies you from an easy permit, probably going to reject the application because you filed it as an easy, or they're going to ask you to revise it and convert it into a standard electrical permit. Cheers! So the next change is effective for all permit applications for new construction and additions filed on or after April 1st, 2021. So the new construction, I'm going to kind of leave this off the side a little bit because New construction has always required, at least in the last 2 years, these documents that I'm about to go over for additions. So additions and alterations were kind of looped into the same category until now. They are now splitting them out. So if you're putting on a new roof deck, if you're putting in another floor, you're going to have to go through this process, and they will be enforcing this for all of the applications filed after April. So there's still time to get around these, but come on, let's be adults. We want to make sure that we're building nice houses, and we want to make sure that they're built well. So not good to cut corners, but you could save some time on some back and forth with the city if you get your permit for the addition in now before April 1st. So the first one is energy compliant documents. So you're going to have a separate energy compliance plan depicting the full building thermal envelope and providing the necessary detail to confirm compliance with the applicable energy code provisions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, ask your architect. That includes like a res check or a com check. So architects, listen up. This is going to be going into effect for all additions starting in April. The next one is soil investigations. This is actually included technically in the geotechnical report, which is required for new construction. So why soil investigations? Well, Philly was built on silt. Is the foundation going to support the structure? And that has to do with the foundation and the soils. So I'm not really sure why they're adding in soil investigations specifically, especially if you're not going to be doing anything to the foundation. So I'm curious to see how this is actually enforced by the examiners after we, go through a few permits after April 1st. So stay tuned on that. This is definitely a big concern with Philadelphia, uniquely Philadelphia. There's other cities that don't have to deal with this. This is just because of the area that our city was built on. And it's also very concerning when you're talking about excavation. You could make changes or do something that you might not even see the damage, at least for another 5 years. So, and that's a whole nother conversation, excavation and underpinning. So I'm going to move on, but just keep in mind, April 1st, additions have their own subset of requirements, which is different from how it is right now. The next update is about licensing. If you let your license lapse, they're going to start charging you a delinquency fee of 1.5% per month. So if your license is not renewed after 60 days and you forget about it and you need to renew it, the city's no longer going to backdate your renewals just for free, just based on the cost of the actual license, because that can happen. I deal with a lot of interesting licensing cases. So the goal here is just when it's renewed, don't wait, just renew it, take care of it on the spot. The delinquency fees are going to accrue on a monthly basis starting 60 days after your license has expired. And speaking of rental licenses, there are some big updates in the rental license world. So the city of Philadelphia is now requiring rental property lead paint certifications. So what does this mean, and what do you need to do come license renewal? So we're talking about rental licenses, which are needed to generate the certificate of rental suitability. So a rental license allows you to enforce eviction. And I know this has been a really hot topic with COVID, and so I'm not going to go down that road, but in order to renew your rental license, you have to have a lead paint certification. And in addition to, you also have to get a bed bug certification. So there's two different things that you have to be aware of when it comes to renewing your next rental license. They're doing this by zip code, so your zip code might not be in the hot area of enforcement. So I would recommend just getting the lead paint certification anyways, just so you could sleep at night. If for whatever reason you're not able to, and you're not in a zip code that they're enforcing this on, then you will be okay. You will be able to renew your rental license as long as you are compliant on your taxes and you don't have any significant violations on your record. So that's good news there. So if you need a rental license, you're most likely an investor. And this next update is surely going to impact the way you buy and sell your properties. The city is now requiring a property wholesaler license. This is a hot topic in our industry right now. As most of you are aware, property wholesalers kind of act like quasi real estate agents in the sense that they are involved in the buying and the selling of properties. So there's going to be more developments on this, and I'm actually going to be releasing another video that goes over some of these requirements, what to expect. I'm also going to be interviewing some wholesalers to try to gauge how these new requirements impact their bottom line. What's the cost of startup costs of getting this license? What kind of sales do you need to generate? So there's a lot of great insight that we're going to be exploring, which I'll be able to announce later on my video later this week. The last update that I'm going to be sharing today is a reminder and slight correction to L&I's guidelines about adding your subcontractors to your building permit application. Philadelphia contractors and trade licensees are required to submit the names of each contractor that works under their permits to L&I using Eclipse within 3 days of the commencement of work authorized by that permit. This requirement does not apply to the construction of 1 or 2 family residential buildings, because let's talk about what a GC license is and the position that it serves in the scope of the project. A general contractor can be a part of a company, or they can hold the license themselves. I work with a lot of GCs who are the only member of their company and they have no employees. If you are claiming an exemption from workers' compensation in order to do commercial work, these are the types of situations when L&I is going to come back to you and request that you provide all of the license numbers from the individuals or companies that you hired on a 1099 basis. Failure to comply may result in license violations, fines, and stop work orders. This is something that is on all of the contractors. Please do your due diligence. You don't want the project to be stopped, the timeline to be halted, because that costs so much money. I mean, if you're spending $5,000 a week on this project, which a lot of these multifamily or commercial properties are seeing in their cash flow, then we don't want to be in a position where you have to take fault. And you also don't want to be in the position that L&I revokes your license. And that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to uncover some of these updates and changes with the Department of Licensing and Inspections. If you have any questions or would you like me to elaborate on any of the topics that I've expressed in my video today, please drop a comment. I would love to answer you. There's a lot of different caveats and nuances that go along with regulation, licensing, and my goal is to be a resource to save you some costly mistakes that can be easily avoided with just 15 minutes of your time. Thank you all so much. This is Kelsey Lee from Philly Kelsey & Co. Have a wonderful day, and I'll be back in a jiff.